It is, first of all, let me just say, it is an honor to be here today, and it's an honor to have all of you with us. My name is Gautam Raghavan. I work here in the White House Office of Public Engagement as a liaison to the AAPI community. And I believe this is a first, so thank you for being here, and please give yourselves a round of applause. So I just wanted to say a few words of hello and welcome you here. The Office of Public Engagement, our job is basically to be the front door to the White House and to engage communities all across America in the work of the federal government and the work of the White House. So it's we're basically here to hear from you and to engage you in the work that we're doing and to form a partnership moving forward. So this is, like I said, this is the first, but it's the first of a series of conversations that we hope to have with all of you all across the country in the time to come. So thank you for being here. A few just quick housekeeping items. First, we just want to make sure you all know that we're live. So if you go to whitehouse.gov/live, you will see streaming video of this. So if you get a chance to blog or tweet, and Chris will tell you more about that part, please make sure you let people know that they can watch this briefing live at whitehouse.gov/live. And then we'll have archive video available later on in case someone missed the briefing but wanted to participate. I also wanted to thank a few people. First of all, I just obviously want to thank CICA for partnering with us to make this happen. We're very excited to work with all of you, some friends in the audience, and really appreciate all the work that you guys did to make this happen. I also want to introduce you to a few people who I think are all out there. Jason Tenko and Eddie Lee from the White House Initiative on APIs. Wave, guys. Two of the initiative interns, Vince and Janie, who probably helped you get down here. And I also want to introduce you to, again, I think they're all busy running around, so say hi to them later, Katie Miller and Ryan Coe, two of our interns here at the White House who've been helping with this event as well. Finally, two more additional pieces of housekeeping. One is I want to make sure you've got a copy of the President's letter greeting on the occasion of Korean American Day, so we have some copies out there for you. And second, as you walked in, you should have gotten a copy of this document here. And this is, we're calling it our engagement survey, and we'd love for you to fill this out and to leave it with us before you leave. And what we need you to do is all of you come from all across the country, and what we want is your help reaching out to key community leaders, stakeholders, thought leaders, and engage them in the work that we're doing. So we know that each of you represents hundreds of people who can't be here today, and so we want to be able to engage them. And so if you could help us out, even if you just circle a few states and leave us a few names in the back of the document, we'd really appreciate your help, and it'll help us stay in touch with you and engage you in the work that we're doing. So with that, I will turn it over to Michael, who is right here. Please.
Thank you, Gautam. 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 이렇게 멀리 와주셔서 대단히 감사합니다. Good morning. My name is Michael Yang. I'm the chairman of the board of CICA, the Council of Korean Americans. On behalf of everyone at CICA, I would like to welcome all of you to this very historic, the very first White House briefing among the Korean American leaders in this country. I know that many of you came from faraway places, so really appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule to attend this very important event. I would also like to thank the President Barack Obama and Gautam and all the staff in the White House as well as the Office of Public Engagement that is hosting this very first and historic event for the Korean American community, so really appreciate it. CICA is a new organization. It's a national, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of Korean American leaders from different sectors. And our mission is to engage, to have a dialogue with many different branches of the government to have a voice in the democratic process and to support the Korean Americans in all walks of American life. It's very exciting because since the first treaty between the United States and Korea was signed in 1882, that was about 130 years ago, U.S. and Korea has become a strong partner in the cause of freedom and democracy around the world. And it is becoming more important as time goes along in this day of war against terror and a lot of other dynamics in this global world. Korean immigrants came to this country for the first time in 1903 to work at the Hawaiian sugar plantation, as you know. But most of the Korean immigrants came to this country after the Korean War during the last 60 years. And I think many of us here came to America in the last 60 years. And there are some 1.7 million of us in this country, and many of us had made significant strides and contributions to all different aspects of the American society. And yet, we as a minority group have not had a voice in the national stage. And we want to develop presence and develop relationships so that we could be engaged and have our voice be heard and participate in this overall process. Ronald Reagan said, and I quote, "Democracy is not a spectator sport." And President Barack Obama, during his commencement address at Barnard College last month, said that don't just get involved. Fight for your seat at the table. Better yet, fight for your seat at the head of the table. And therefore, we want to develop ways, build relationships, and engage in a dialogue so that our voice can be heard in the national stage and support each other and work together to advance this country and our community. So we have a very exciting day today. We have some of the most distinguished leaders in the White House. Really appreciate Chris Lu, who is the assistant to the president here today, and Chris Kang, who is in charge of the judicial appointments at the White House here today, and Harold Koh from the State Department will be here today. And we have many other distinguished speakers speaking at different panels on issues of importance to the Korean American community. Topics ranging from U.S.-Korea relations, small business, immigration, a number of other topics that will be of interest. So I would encourage you to participate in this discussion, ask questions, voice your opinions, so that we could be part of this democratic process to make our community stronger and build stronger America for the future, so that our future generation could benefit from the work that we do to build this a great country. So I'd like to just thank President Obama and the leaders in the White House for hosting this event again. And I look forward to meeting all of you at the reception following this briefing at the Indian Treaty Room. And I would just like to say that God bless all of you, and God bless Korea, and God bless America. Thank you.
All right, well, I will now turn it over to a dear friend and a SECA board member, Betsy Kim.
Good morning, everyone. It is fantastic to look out and see a sea of Korean American faces here at the White House. Really, really exciting. Thank you so much for coming. And so I have the distinct honor of introducing our first speaker, Chris Lu. But I just want to emphasize again, Chris will speak, but he also has built-in time to take your questions. So as he does his remarks, please don't be shy and think about some questions. I think we have some microphones so that we can have full participation throughout the day. So anyway, it's my honor to introduce Chris Lu. As the Cabinet Secretary at the White House, Chris is President Obama's primary liaison to federal agencies, playing a critical role in coordinating policy and communicating between the White House and the rest of the federal government. Chris also serves as co-chair of the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Chris actually is one of the longest-serving advisors to the president. He was tapped by Obama to be his legislative director when Obama was first elected to the Senate in 2004. During the 2008 presidential election, then Senator Obama asked Chris to plan for a possible presidential transition. So, not surprisingly that Chris was chosen for this very, important role. Chris worked behind the scenes for 6 months in this capacity, And the day after Election Day, he was named Executive Director of the Obama-Biden Transition Project, which has been recognized as one of the best-run presidential transitions. So that's kind of a little bit about his formal background. I was actually introduced to Chris in 2008 by my good friend Mark Heem, who is here. And I just want to mention Mark is actually the first Asian American and first Korean American delegate elected to the Virginia Assembly. So just wanted to mention that. I've had the privilege of working with Chris in many capacities since I first met him in 2008. I very much admire, all of the usual things you admire about, people in his position, his leadership, his knowledge and grasp of issues and policies. But I have to say that what I most admire about Chris is his integrity and the fact that he genuinely cares about the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. He's Chinese and I'm Korean and we're Korean here, but I know that he has that same sense of his roots and the commitment to the Asian American and Pacific Islander community as a whole. This commitment has been demonstrated repeatedly since 2008 as he has met with many different AAPI groups, both formally and informally, and has advocated on our behalf. And more recently, that commitment was demonstrated when he agreed to co-chair the White House Initiative on Asian American and Pacific Islanders. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to present Chris Lu.
Thank you, Betsy, for that kind introduction. And I may apologize, well, I will apologize in advance that I may not be able to take questions because we have a daily call that I do for all of the agencies at 9:30. So depending on how long I go, we may be able to take a question or two. So thank you all for being here. It was great to see so many of you last night, Michael Yang and the whole team. You guys do a ridiculously great party, so thank you for having me. I'd like to thank Betsy for that very kind introduction. She is a fierce advocate, as all of you know, for the AAPI community, and she played a critical role in rallying support in the community for then Senator Obama in 2008, and we are lucky to have her passion and her experience working on our behalf at the Department of Labor. So let's just give Betsy another round of applause. I'm going to keep my comments brief. As I said, I'm hitting up against 9:30, but I'm also, more importantly, the first of many people you will hear from today, all of whom are much smarter than me, including my former law school classmate, Marissa Chun, who's in the front row. I know Chris Kang will be speaking with all of you, and so these are just old, good friends. I shouldn't say old because it makes us seem old, but just folks that we have known for a very, very long time, and who have been great supporters of mine and, more importantly, great supporters of the president. As Betsy mentioned, I wear two different hats at the White House. My day job is helping the president manage the departments and agencies, and my night and weekend job is co-chairing the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Both of these jobs have the same primary mission, which is to ensure that the federal government is working as efficiently and as effectively for our customers, all of you, the American people. And to do that, it's critical for us to get out and hear from folks as to the problems they're facing and how they want the federal government to help them. It's the kind of the face-to-face dialogue that Michael just talked about that SECA is engaging in. That's why over the past 2.5, 3 years, the hardworking staff and commissioners at the initiative have gone to more than 50 different cities around the country. They've talked to 25,000 different people, really engaging and talking to people who previously didn't have a voice in government. And this face-to-face dialogue, as good as it is only part of the way that we're engaging with the community. We have a great Facebook page, we've got a website, whitehouse.gov/AAPI, and of course we have Twitter. And I laugh about Twitter because about 6 months ago, I spoke to a group of AAPI young people, and my staff had given me all these talking points about what Twitter was. I literally had no idea what I was saying at the time. And after 6 months, I'm just the biggest follower, convert to Twitter. So let me say this. You can follow me on Twitter at ChrisLu44, I have to make my shameless plug. But more importantly, for both folks in the audience and folks watching on the live stream, if you want to tweet about today's function, we are going to be using the hashtag CKAWH. CKAWH. So Council of Korean Americans White House. That's what it stands for. I always get nervous giving out hashtags like that because what I find is that half the people are tweeting about all the mistakes I've made, and the other half are like arguing back and forth. So if you want to tweet, things about me, maybe you just want to wait till after I finish. One of the reasons we want to hear from all of you is that we know that in Washington we don't have a monopoly on good ideas, and during these challenging times, we need to hear from everyone about the ways that the federal government can better serve you. And that's why we're crisscrossing the country, talking to all of you. But we're not just talking, we're not just listening, we're actually doing things. Let me just give you a couple of examples of what we have done over the last couple of years. During the 2010 oil spill, the initiative helped marshal federal resources to help Vietnamese fishermen and shrimpers who were struggling with the loss of their livelihoods. We launched the first ever initiative to examine the risks to workers at nail salons, which if you're from a state like California, the vast majority of them are Asian Americans. We've helped provide greater financial support to colleges and universities that serve the AAPI community. We've educated our community about the benefits of the President's new health care law. We've focused the attention on bullying of AAPI students. We've also brought together leaders from the philanthropic community for the first ever gathering to examine better ways that foundations can help serve our community. And we've also tasked federal agencies to do a better job of disaggregating their data so that we not only look at AAPIs as a whole, but we start looking at how different subgroups are faring. I could go on and on. I'm proud of what we've accomplished over the past 3 years, but I know that we have much more to do. And the primary mission of the initiative, the primary mission of what President Obama has tasked us to do, is really to focus on the economy. As all of you know, we are still recovering from the greatest downturn since the Great Depression. And that's why it's important for us to continue to look for ways to create greater opportunity, to create greater jobs, not only in the Asian American community, but in all communities as well. Let me just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about what the President's economic record is. Under the President's leadership, we've taken significant strides forward from an economic standpoint. Over the past 27 months, we've created 4.3 million jobs. 4.3 million jobs. We've had 11 straight quarters of economic growth. American manufacturing is creating jobs for the first time since the 1990s. The American auto industry is coming back. In fact, all 3 American auto companies posted a profit last year, the first time that's happened since 2004. To help all families, but to help specifically AAPI families, we've provided tax breaks to 7.5 million Asian American families. To help the 1.5 million AAPI small business owners, we've passed 18 tax cuts, 18 tax cuts. But creating jobs, as all of you know, is important to economic security. But there's another thing that we've done to help strengthen the security of our community, and that's to pass a landmark health care law. The law that the President signed into law in 2010 provides insurance to 30 million Americans, but just as importantly, provides greater protection to the hundreds of millions of Americans who already have health insurance in this country. And even as the new health care law is getting phased in, Americans are already reaping the benefits from that law. Let me just give you a couple examples and specifically how they affect our community. The new health care law eliminates lifetime limits on coverage for 105 million Americans, including 5.5 million Asian Americans. Last year, the new law provided 54 million Americans, including 2.7 million AAPIs, with free preventive service. That could be a colon cancer screening, a flu shot, a mammogram. The law allows young adults up to the age of 26 to remain on their parents' health insurance. Because of this change, an additional 2.5 million people between the ages of 19 and 25 are now covered by their parents' health insurance. And for our community, the Asian American community, 97,000 young people now have health insurance because of this provision. So we've done a lot, but there's a lot more that we need to do. Now, the President realizes, as do all of us realize, that we're in an election year, and it's hard to get things done during an election year. But the President firmly believes that we can't afford to wait until next year to take more action to fix our economy. And that's why he's been traveling around the country, with a to-do list. And as he says, the to-do list is small, it's simple, it fits on a Post-it note, actually. It's the kind of note that you might give to your husband or wife of some tasks they need to take care of. And here's what's on the Post-it note. First, we need to provide tax incentives to companies to bring jobs back to the United States. Second, we need to allow homeowners to refinance their mortgages at lower rates, which will save families thousands of dollars. Third, we need to provide greater tax relief to small businesses so that they can hire more workers and that they can increase wages. Fourth, we need to extend tax credits to provide greater incentives for manufacturing in the clean energy world. And finally, we need to create a Job Corps for veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan so that they can help work as cops and firefighters and help serve their communities. Now, as I list all 5 of these, you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, these are kind of common sense ideas. I really don't get why these things are taking so long. And that's, I think, the frustrating thing. These are ideas that have all had bipartisan support. And in any other political climate, these would have gotten passed. That's why the president is dedicated to crisscrossing the country, talking to the American people about the importance of these ideas. And just to give you an example today, the president is in Las Vegas. He's talking about college affordability, about the steps that he's taken to help more kids, including more kids in our community, go to college. So I hope you'll take a moment to learn more about these ideas. You can find out more about them on our website, whitehouse.gov. And I hope if you decide that you like these ideas, that you'll give your support to these ideas and figure out ways to help us get these ideas passed. So with all of that, I see our next speaker here, and let me just thank all of you again for being here. I know you all have incredibly busy schedules. I took a moment just to look through the list of speakers here, and you all, the list of attendees, and you all represent a very august cross-section of the community. You've traveled from places near and far to be here, so I know it is no small task to spend a morning with us. But I hope you enjoy your day. I hope you remain engaged in what we are doing here in the White House, and I hope you'll reach out to us with your best ideas. Thank you very much. I see everybody else looking at their watch. All right, I'm going to risk this, and I will take one question if anybody has a question. And it makes it very easy if there aren't. Yes, there's one right back there.
Good morning. My name is Hei Pin-im, President of Korean Churches for Community Development. You mentioned one of the top priorities for the President is about creating jobs and opportunities, and the FTA agreement just passed this past year. And one of the things that that has not happened, that needs to happen, and I'd like to bring it to your attention, is the fact that in the other FTA agreements with Chile, Singapore, Australia, there are usually so many visas that are set aside that allows for free flow of, I guess, human capital to be, labor to be able to go back and forth. And I know that there's an 85,000 global allocation, and about 51,000 is set aside through some other vehicle for Chinese and Indians. Mm-hmm. And every year about 3,000 Koreans are able to use that allocation, but that's not enough. We need about 10 to 20,000 slots. And I know that originally that was supposed to be part of the agreement and some mix-ups happened. And so we are really asking that to be your attention for every job. Suppose the additional 2.5 jobs are created. And there's a great need, particularly for Korean American business owners. Usually many of them can benefit from those additional visa allocations. And so I wanted to see if that is on your radar screen. If not, what are some ways to help make that happen?
Thank you for that great question. It's certainly on our radar, and I appreciate your mentioning the free trade agreement. That is really a singular accomplishment of this administration and is going to do a lot to create jobs both here and in Korea. So thank you for mentioning that. You know, the broader issue you raised regards our immigration policies. And one of the messages that I want to get across to all of you is that immigration is not just a Latino issue, it is an Asian American issue as well. And whether it is the high-skilled issue that you have raised or the folks that are here undocumented in this country, the president is committed to comprehensive immigration reform. What the president has said is that, you know what, we are in a difficult battle with other countries for the global economy of the 21st century. And we can't afford to leave anyone on the sidelines. It can't be the high school kids who arrived here undocumented with their parents. It can't be the folks that have come here to attend graduate school in the United States and go back to start businesses in their home countries. It can't be the high-skilled labor who can't even come into this country. We want to make the United States an attractive place to do business, an attractive place to work, and that requires a global approach. And since I've been with the president for 7.5 years, he's been calling for comprehensive immigration reform. And if you all believe like he believes, then I hope you will support us in that effort. So with that, I see our next speaker, Chris Kang, here, and I will turn it over to Chris or whoever else is. Oh, Yul. Thank you very much.
I don't want to disappoint you guys. I'm not Chris Kang. Morning, my name is Yul Kwon, and I'm one of the founders of SECA and currently serve as one of the vice chairs along with Esther Lee. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who arguably occupies one of the most sensitive and influential positions within the administration. As you all know, presidents serve a maximum of 8 years in office, but Article 3 federal judges serve for life. So perhaps more than anything else, a president's legacy is defined by the people he or she puts on the federal bench. And in this administration, I'm proud to say that the person who's responsible for overseeing the nomination and confirmation of federal judges is one of our own. Christopher Kang is Special Assistant to Obama and Senior Counsel to the President, in charge of the selection, vetting, and confirmation of the President's judicial nominees. From 2009 to 2011, he was Special Assistant to the President for Legislative Affairs and led the legislative outreach and strategy in the confirmation of Supreme Court Justices Sotomayor and Kagan, the Senate's successful effort to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the reduction of the sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine offenses. Mr. Kang also worked for Assistant U.S. Senate Majority Leader Dick Durbin of Illinois for 7 years, running the floor operations of Durbin's whip office and serving as Senate Judiciary Committee Counsel. Mr. Kang earned his JD from the Duke University School of Law and his BA from the University of Chicago. And in 2011, he was recognized by the National Law Journal as one of the top 40 minority lawyers under the age of 40. Please give a warm welcome to Chris Kang.
Thank you, Yul, for that entirely too kind introduction. Thank you to SECA for hosting this event. I think it's exciting to have an organization like that can pull folks like you from all over the country together to have a briefing like this today and to learn more about what the Obama administration is doing. And along those lines, of course, thanks for all of you for being here. I think that it's incredibly important for our community to be more engaged civically, and I think that the fact that all of you are here today says a lot about how far our community is coming and what we hope to do together moving forward. As Yul said, one of the most important parts of the president's legacy is his judicial nominations. And one of the things that I do is I oversee the overall effort to select judicial nominees, vet them for nomination, and then see them through the confirmation process. Obviously, the most important things that we look for in terms of characteristics in our judicial nominees are intelligence, integrity, and judicial temperament. But the other thing that the president has put a strong emphasis on since his first days in office is diversity, and making sure that the judiciary reflects the nation that it serves. And along those lines, we're very proud of the fact that 46% of the president's judges are women, and 38% are minorities. Both of these rates are double the rate of President Bush and 50% higher than President Clinton. And our job is not just to have a great record for ourselves, but also to set the bar higher for the next person and the person after that, so that you can't have double the rate of women than President Obama has. And we're very proud of that. Well, you could perhaps, technically, end up with 96% women. But that's the kind of thing that we're looking to in terms of the long term. And the reason why diversity is important is because having judges who reflect our nation, I think, builds better credibility for the judiciary, for the people who come before the court, to see somebody that looks like them and that reflects, especially in the criminal justice system, but also just broadly, helps increase the integrity of the overall system. But also, I can say that for our community, both the Asian American community and the Korean American community in particular, it's so important because it adds role models to our community. It adds role models for us broadly, but also specifically in the legal profession. One of the things that makes me happiest when I interview judicial nominees and we talk about why are you here today, why do you want to be a judge, it's because they view being a judge as the form of the highest form of public service that they can do as a lawyer. And that is absolutely true. And I think that as a community, Asian Americans and Korean Americans need to do a better job of fostering public service. And so that I think having more role models as judges and throughout the legal profession is incredibly important. And I think that the president's nominees help to serve that function. It's particularly with Asian American judges, the president has had 150 judges confirmed, and 7% have been Asian American. For Presidents Bush and Clinton, there were only 1%. And in fact, I was just looking back at the numbers again today, and it turns out President Obama has appointed more Asian American judges than Presidents Bush and Clinton combined in their 16 years. That is obviously something that we are incredibly proud of. When the president took office, there were 0 Asian Americans on the circuit court, which is the second highest court, right below the Supreme Court, and only 8 judges on the district court. There are now 2 Asian American judges on the circuit court, including the first Asian American woman to serve on the circuit court, and 15 district court judges. So we've doubled the number of Asian Americans. This includes in history, there have only been 2 Asian American women federal judges. President Obama has appointed 6 himself. And so there's a lot of progress. I could go through all of the firsts, the first Chinese American woman, the first Vietnamese judge, the first South Asian woman. We've nominated the first Filipino judge. But more than that, I'm sort of looking forward to the second and the third. I think we have a lot of work to do so that each nomination isn't in and of itself historic. We're very proud of the glass ceilings that we're breaking, but honestly, I'd love to be able to break less of them. And so along those lines, in looking at Korean Americans, the very first Asian American federal judge was a Korean American. In 1971, President Nixon appointed Judge Herbert Choi from Hawaii to be the first Asian American judge. He's the first judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And he was the first Korean American to ever be admitted to practice law in the United States. So Korean Americans have a great tradition of being firsts. Unfortunately, when he took senior status in 1984, we went another, do the math, 26 years before we had another Korean American judge. I'm proud to say that President Obama has appointed Lucy Koh in the Northern District of California. She's the first Korean American woman to serve as a federal judge. And he's appointed John Lee in the Northern District of Illinois in Chicago, who is serving as now the second, doubling the population of Korean American judges. And it is very exciting. It's very exciting, especially as a young Korean American lawyer, to help increase these numbers. I can't wait till we triple it with the next person. But again, we have to do a better job of making sure that our community continues to foster people who are interested in public service, people who are interested in becoming lawyers, judges, sort of throughout the professions that all of you are involved in. But from my perspective, this is sort of the best place for me to make a difference, to help our community and to help the judiciary. I think that having a diverse judiciary is incredibly important, both as it turns out that the judiciary is in fact the third branch of government. And I think that's sometimes overlooked, but having people in these important positions in the community, and by virtue of the fact that there aren't very many Asian American judges really in the nation, I think that Lucy Koh and John Lee are incredible examples for all of us and for all of our friends and children and parents, or depending on how you look at generationally, to serve. And so I just want to thank all of you. I thank you for the opportunity to talk about the progress we've made and to sort of challenge you to continue to help us to make more progress. Because I think that as impressive as the numbers are and as incredibly proud of them as I am as an Asian American and specifically as a Korean American, I think we have a lot more work to do. And so I welcome all of you in joining that effort. And I think I've got time to take a couple questions.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. And so we'd like to ask a few questions. Please be sensitive to Chris's time and keep him short. The first question goes to Lizzie.
Chris, thank you so much for coming here today. And oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not following instructions. Thank you, Tina. I'm Lizzie Kim. I'm a former member of the administration and a board member of SECA. So thank you so much for coming, Chris, today. You know, for most, I think for the vast majority of the Korean American community, the nominations process is really quite a mystery. So can you tell us from your insider's perspective, how do the nominations really come up and rise up to your desk, and what can organizations like this do to help that process?
That's a great question. By and large, the recommendations for judicial nominees come from two sources. They come from senators, and they come sort of through the White House. And so we will often work with senators as we get recommendations directly. We'll recommend that senators look at nominees very carefully. And we'll certainly, for the circuit court, which is the court level under the Supreme Court, we have greater latitude to sort of pick people who we think are good. And so we work with the National Asian Pacific Bar Association very closely, and I hope that we'll be able to work with SECA as well. To the extent that you have any people who you think would be suitable to be strong district or circuit court judges, by all means, let me know. Sometimes it depends on whether or not there are vacancies and whether or not we're able to push people forward. But what we found is the most difficult thing in the President's initiative toward increasing the diversity of the judiciary is getting enough diverse candidates to apply. And I think part of that is that they're just not as, I'll be broadly stereotyped, but they're not as often willing to throw their names in the ring, to say that I would make a good federal judge, to have that sort of sense of self-awareness and self-confidence to put themselves in. And I think that that's the other place where all of you can play an important role, which is to encourage other people to apply. If you think somebody has the intelligence and the integrity to be a good judge, tell them that, and then tell me that, so that we're able to find these people and build a bench so that we have options, and that, you know, not everybody who's recommended is going to make it, but the more people who are recommended at the front end, the more people are going to come out the back end. So I think between working with your senators and working directly with us through SECA and other organizations, I think is a tremendous opportunity. Thanks for the question.
Next question.
Hi, my name is John Park. I'm from Cruskill, and I'm a Board of Ed member. Just a more theoretical question about the whole AAIP. Does it do a disservice to different nationalities within the larger broad spectrum Asian American Pacific Islander title? So if someone from, let's say, South Asia gets a position, then other minorities get excluded because someone from the AAIP got nominated as a judicial nominee or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it does. And I think the best example of this perhaps is the Northern District of Illinois in Chicago, where my former boss, Senator Dick Durbin, is in charge of the recommendations there. And you actually see he's recommended of the 5 district court judges, I think 5 that we've had in the Northern District of Illinois, 2 are Asian American. One is Chinese, and the other, as I mentioned, is John Lee, who's Korean American. And so there really is, there's not as much conflict in that way in terms of different ethnic minorities. I think that within the AAPI community, I think that the more names you have, the better chance. And again, I would love to have 4 different Asian American candidates to look at for one vacancy and then have to decide which 3, you know, specific ethnicities may not win out that time. I think that more often than that, though, you only have one choice. And so I think that the more candidates we have, the better to be more successful.
Next question.
Good morning. My name is John Bang. I'm involved in a number of organizations in northern New Jersey, and recently we had a big problem in New Jersey. There was a Korean American gentleman, Phil Kwan, who was nominated for the Supreme Court in New Jersey. For various reasons, his nomination was knocked out. And I think this had a tremendously discouraging effect on the Korean American community. And as you said, we need to encourage Korean American lawyers to apply for judgeship. And I know this also had a chilling effect because of the way he was attacked when during the nomination process, that many lawyers that I have spoken to who had thought about one day being a judge now say there's no way in heck they're ever going to go through that process because of the tremendous personal attacks that they had to go through, particularly with their family history. And so I encourage you, I'm glad to hear that we have a Korean-American judge from California and Illinois. So if President Obama can maybe do something about getting a Korean-American judge from the Northeast, if we can get somebody from New Jersey, I think that would go a long way. You know,
I assume you're going to give me your resume on my way out the door?
no, I am not interested. I don't want to go through all that, but it is. We've had a lot of problems lately with the Korean American community. We've been trying to actually do a lot of political empowerment. This has mobilized a lot of people, I think, because they got so angry about the process. But I think this is something, I don't want to get into partisan politics here. If anyone from Northeast knows exactly what's going in New Jersey with this whole process, but I think this is an excellent opportunity for President Obama and the Korean American community and everybody. So this is something I hope you keep in the back of your mind.
No, and I appreciate that. I don't know the specifics of that story, but I will say that broadly speaking, the judicial confirmation process is broken on the federal level. The other reason why people don't apply is because they don't want to go through a process that they view as being overly political. I don't think you see very many personal attacks on the federal judiciary, but you see a lot of distortion of people's record. And you see just long time. It took John Lee, I think, 5 months to get a vote. It's a very long and drawn-out process, and a lot of people don't want to go through that. And I empathize with that. But I think that, honestly, we have an additional responsibility, that if you have the ability to serve, that it's not always a pretty process, but I think we have an additional responsibility as a community to take up that additional burden and to be able to pave the way for others who are coming after us, to make it easier for the next person. And so I would encourage people, if anybody says, I'd love to put my name in, but the process isn't great, have them talk to me. I'll be honest, the process isn't great, but it's not as bad as you think, and the rewards really are worth it. I don't think there's anybody who's become a federal judge that says, my God, I would, if I had to do this all over again, the confirmation process was so bad that I wouldn't do it again. They would rather if the confirmation process wasn't so bad, but being a judge and having the impact on society, on government, on the American people is so great. And then to be able to be a role model for so many people, not just Asian Americans, not just minorities, but just throughout the legal profession, being a good judge is important. And so I think all of us, frankly, all of you who are here as leaders of the Korean American community, you understand that there's an extra burden on you being a leader. And the same thing applies for people who might be interested in running. And so certainly the next time there's a vacancy in New Jersey or anywhere in the Northeast or anywhere, again, seriously, we're very open to taking names. Maybe not have everybody email me directly, but go through SECA, go through other, go through your local Asian Bar Association and put, let's work together to increase the number of Korean Americans on the bench. Nothing would make me happier.
All right, I think we're out of time. Let's give Chris a big round of applause.
Thanks so much.